I couldn't believe what I had just discovered. The excitement of our upcoming trip to Greece, something we had been eagerly anticipating for months, had been replaced with a sense of disbelief and devastation. Alicia, my girlfriend of a couple of years, had been cheating on me with a guy named Brad. The betrayal hit me harder than I ever thought possible, especially considering how much effort I had put into saving up for this special vacation. We had been talking about this trip for weeks, and now it felt like my entire world had been turned upside down. It all began a few weeks before our departure. Alicia had left her phone on the counter, and without thinking too much about it, I glanced down at the screen. A preview of a message caught my eye, and I couldn't resist looking. The content revealed something that shattered me. A secret relationship between Alicia and Brad, someone she had met during a girls' night out. The messages they had exchanged detailed all the good times they'd been having together, and each word felt like a knife in my chest. The emotional blow was overwhelming. My mind raced with thoughts of betrayal, sadness, and anger. This trip, which was supposed to be a celebration of our relationship, now felt tainted. I couldn't fathom spending an entire week with someone who had broken my trust in such a profound way. I was on the verge of confronting Alicia immediately, but as I stood there, something unexpected happened. A memory from my childhood flashed before my eyes. The vivid images of my father's violent temper and the fear I felt growing up flooded my mind. In that instant, I realized that I didn't want to react the way he would have, with anger, violence, and destruction. I didn't want to become that person, even though the rage inside me was boiling over. Instead of storming into the bathroom and confronting her with all my anger, I stopped. My fist, which had been inches away from pounding on the door, froze. I realized I had to take a different approach, one that didn't involve violence or a heated confrontation. What if there was a way to address the situation without making things worse? What if I could find a way to cope with the hurt without resorting to destructive behavior? That's when an idea struck me, and it was the perfect solution. About a year ago, I had reconnected with an old school friend, Erin, on Facebook. Erin had always been incredibly beautiful, but we had never crossed a line into anything romantic. We had simply been friends, but over the past year, we had started chatting again, catching up on life, and talking about everything that had been going on. When I thought about my current situation, I realized that Erin could be the perfect person to help me execute a plan that would let me regain control of the situation, without resorting to anger or violence. I called Erin up and explained everything that had happened with Alicia, asking her if she would be willing to come to Greece with me. I couldn't believe it when she agreed without hesitation. Erin was a genuinely kind person, and she had no emotional connection to Alicia, so she wouldn't be caught up in any of the drama. She was simply offering her support during a difficult time. Plus, Erin had enough vacation time saved up to join me on this trip, and she was more than happy to be there for me. I felt a sense of relief and gratitude, knowing that I had someone who truly cared about me in my corner. It wasn't about getting revenge in the traditional sense. It was about finding a way to cope, to reclaim some sense of control, and to move forward without allowing Alicia's betrayal to ruin me. The day of the flight arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. I had already made one small, but significant, change. I had altered the name on Alicia's ticket to Erin's. This was going to be the moment of reckoning, and I had to keep my cool. When I arrived at the airport, I found Erin waiting in the wings, looking as stunning as ever. I picked up Alicia and we drove to the airport, but the entire ride felt like a heavy weight pressing on my chest. Alicia asked me if I was okay, but I gave her a sarcastic response, saying everything was wonderful. After all, I was about to board a plane to Greece, so in a way, I wasn't lying. But I knew Alicia could sense something was off. The tension in the car was palpable, and I did my best to play it cool, talking about the places I was looking forward to seeing, hoping to shift the mood back to normal. When we arrived at the check-in counter, I handed over our passports and tickets. My heart was racing, but I kept my composure as best I could. The ticket agent scanned our documents, then looked up at us with a puzzled expression. At that moment, I knew everything was about to come crashing down. "I'm sorry," the agent said, looking at Alicia's ticket. This ticket is for an Aaron Smith, not Alicia Meadows. Alicia was confused, of course. She immediately started arguing with the agent, her frustration growing with each passing second. Meanwhile, I struggled to suppress the smirk that was threatening to form on my face. As the tension reached its peak, Erin emerged from her hiding spot. She looked absolutely stunning, holding her passport in hand. "Actually," I said, trying to sound as nonchalant as possible, "Erin is right here." Alicia's face went from confusion to fury in an instant. I could see the realization wash over her as the pieces fell into place. That's when I finally dropped the bomb. "I know you've been cheating on me," I said, my voice calm but firm. The truth was out. The satisfaction I felt wasn't about winning or exacting revenge for the sake of revenge. It was about standing up for myself, about not allowing Alicia's betrayal to define me. I had taken control of the situation in my own way, and in that moment, I knew I had made the right decision. I stood there, facing Alicia and Brad, my heart pounding, but my voice was steady. It felt almost surreal, like I had been preparing for this moment for far too long. I looked at Alicia and told her, as calmly as I could, that I thought she'd be better off staying behind and enjoy herself at the bar while Aaron and I took off on our vacation to Greece. The words came out without hesitation, though they stung as they left my lips. The truth was undeniable. We were done, and I made it clear that I never wanted to see her again. Alicia's face, once full of arrogance and anger, twisted in a way I hadn't expected. It was almost as if all the emotion she had been hiding was suddenly pouring out. Her eyes welled up with tears, and I could see her body tense as she tried to fight them back. Then, without warning, she began sobbing uncontrollably. She asked me how I had found out about her affair with Brad, and I told her bluntly that it didn't matter anymore. The damage was done. She then asked if I had been cheating on her with Aaron, and before I could even think of a response, Aaron stepped in. His voice was firm and unwavering. "No, ma'am," he said. "I've never been a cheater, and I'll never be with one." The words hung in the air, and Alicia didn't have much of a chance to say anything else before I reached out and took Aaron's hand. We walked away from her and Brad without looking back. As we passed the ticket counter, the agent, who had been watching the entire scene unfold, nodded at us in acknowledgement and led us through the gate. I couldn't help it. I turned back one last time to look at Alicia. I gave her a small, almost sad smile as I entered the gate, and I saw the ticket agent finally allow herself a small smile, shaking her head with what seemed like a silent acknowledgement of the drama that had just unfolded. As Aaron and I boarded the plane, both of us still processing what had just happened, we took our seats, still in disbelief. The weight of everything that had just transpired didn't seem real. As the plane took off, we clinked our little plastic cups of wine together in a quiet toast to new beginnings and unexpected adventures. It was exhilarating. We both laughed, not because anything was funny, but because we had no idea what was coming next, and somehow it felt better that way. Our days in Greece unfolded like a dream. We wandered through Athens, marveling at the ancient ruins and indulging in every delicious Greek dish we could find. It felt like a fresh start. In the evenings, we shared stories of our pasts, laughed about silly things, and discovered more about each other than I could have imagined. The more time we spent together, the more I realized how much I had been missing out on. I was grateful for the twist of fate that had brought us here, to this moment of peace, to this connection I hadn't expected. Back home, Alicia was facing a very different reality. First of all, she had to find her own way back home, since I was the one who had driven us to the airport. I had no sympathy for her. Word of what had happened at the airport spread quickly among our friends, and soon Alicia was the butt of every joke. I even heard from a mutual friend that Brad, the man she had been cheating with, had dumped her as soon as he found out about the confrontation. Apparently, he couldn't handle the fallout, and Alicia was left alone to pick up the pieces. As much as I didn't want to admit it, there was a small part of me that felt vindicated by her downfall. It wasn't about revenge, but seeing her face the consequences of her actions felt strangely satisfying. But Aaron and I didn't dwell on that for long. Instead, we focused on making the most of our time in Greece. We explored breathtaking beaches, hiked through stunning trails, and even tried our hand at traditional Greek dancing, though neither of us was particularly graceful. It didn't matter. It was about the experience, the joy of being in a new place together. On the final day, as the sun began to set, we found ourselves standing on a hill overlooking the ocean. The sky was painted in brilliant hues of orange and pink, and the air was calm. I stood there, hand in hand with Aaron, feeling a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in a long time. The heartbreak and betrayal I had felt just a week ago seemed like a distant memory. Standing there, looking at the horizon, I realized how much I had changed, how much I had grown. This trip, this unexpected adventure, had brought Aaron and me so much closer than I ever thought possible. I turned to Aaron and, grinning, said, "We should do this again sometime." He smiled back, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'd like that." As we boarded the plane back home, I couldn't help but reflect on how much this trip had meant to us. It had been more than just a vacation. It had been a journey of healing and rediscovery, a way to escape from everything that had hurt us. Neither of us knew exactly what the future held, but I felt a sense of excitement and possibility. For the first time in a long time, I was looking forward to what was next. As for Alicia, I couldn't help but feel that she had learned a hard lesson that day. She had thought she could get away with betrayal, but in the end, cheaters never prosper. And sometimes, the universe has a way of making sure they are left behind in the most dramatic and unforgettable ways. Looking back, I still wonder if I handled everything the way I should have. Did I do the right thing? How would someone else have reacted in my shoes? There's no way to know for sure, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you think I handled it? Would you have done anything differently? Let me know what you think.